I was halfway through carving the turkey when Chase opened his mouth and ruined the night. We had the whole crew over for Thanksgiving, both sides of the family, maybe 25 people packed into our house in Waukesha. Dana made it look like a magazine cover. Centerpieces, hand-folded napkins, even that fancy green bean casserole her mother swears by. For a minute, it actually felt normal. Joking, laughing, passing the stuffing. Her father was weirdly quiet, but I figured he was just tired or annoyed at my beer in a can. Then Chase, her golden boy brother, started up, bragging like usual. Something about how his firm just locked in a 7-figure deal with some AI security group out in San Jose. Everybody oohed like it was the second coming of Christ. I just kept chewing my dinner. He looked right at me, flashed that rich boy smirk, and dropped it. "Not bad for a guy who used to live in a trailer," he said, loud, like it was a toast. The room went quiet so fast, you could hear Dana's mother swallow. For a second, I thought maybe I'd heard him wrong, but no, he meant it. He pointed his wine glass at me like I was a punchline, and the worst part, they laughed. Not everyone, but enough. Dana didn't even flinch. She just sipped her wine, eyes on her plate like nothing happened. Nobody said a word in my defense. Not her dad, not her mother, not Dana, and sure as hell not Chase, who already moved on to his next story about some crypto fund he backed. I set down my fork. My hands felt like they were buzzing, but I didn't say a damn thing. I just stood up, walked around the table, and left. Didn't look back, didn't care how awkward it got. The second I stepped into the hallway, the warmth of the house felt fake. I could still smell the turkey, cranberry, cinnamon, but it turned my stomach. I headed straight for the garage, past the fridge, grabbed a beer, and sat down hard on the workbench. Quick note, before we go further, tell me where you're watching from. City, country, anything. I didn't cry, I didn't yell. I just sat there with that echo in my head. Not bad for a guy who used to live in a trailer, over and over. Inside, the laughter picked back up like nothing happened. I cracked open the beer, didn't taste it. Then I slammed it down and went to the back of the garage to be alone. The metal stool I sat on dug into my legs, but I didn't move. The garage was cold, barely lit, and smelled like motor oil and sawdust. I cracked open another beer, warm this time. Didn't matter. I looked down at my hands. Rough, scarred, 59 years old, still got calluses from holding a framing hammer. I built homes in snow, heat, and hurricane wind. Laid pipe in frozen mud. Never took a shortcut. Never once called in sick just 'cause I felt tired. And yeah, I grew up in a trailer park in Eau Claire. My mom worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. I never saw my dad. Guy disappeared when I was 6. Mom said he wasn't worth missing. We didn't have much, but I earned every cent of my life. Got into construction right out of high school. Never asked anyone for a handout. Never took anything I didn't work for. And that table full of people, all those tight smiles and gold watches, they laughed like I was a joke. Like marrying Dana had been a charity case. This wasn't the first time Chase took a swing. He'd thrown little digs over the years. Subtle stuff. Calling my truck quaint. Asking if I'd ever heard of real wine. He always played it off like a joke. And Dana, she never stopped him. Never told him to back off. Just smiled and let it slide. Every single time. Hell, even Dana had done it. Back when we were dating, she'd talk about how grounded I was. How I made her feel real. That used to feel like a compliment. Now, I wonder if she just liked dragging me into her world to show off what she could polish up. Like I was a fixer-upper husband. I stared at the phone on the workbench. Nothing. No text, no call. Not from Dana, not from anyone inside that house. I wasn't just insulted. I was forgotten. I wasn't even mad anymore. I was empty. Like someone scooped out my guts and left the shell. Disposable. Just the dumbass in work boots nobody would miss if he walked out and never came back. But under all that, under the embarrassment and the shame, something started boiling. I don't know what flipped, but I felt it. Something snapping inside me. I wasn't going to be the goddamn punchline anymore. If they wanted to laugh, fine, but they weren't going to do it standing over me. I stood up. The beer bottle in my hand slammed onto the workbench and rolled. I grabbed my jacket and walked to the garage door, flipping on the overhead lights. If Dana married me, thinking she could mold me into whatever status symbol she wanted, she picked the wrong guy. They'd forgotten who the hell I was. and maybe I did too for a while. But I'm done sitting quietly while rich assholes like Chase try to humiliate me in my own house. I don't care how much money they make or how slick their suits are. I've survived more than they ever will. I went to the back shelf and yanked open the old toolbox my mom gave me before she died. Sat under a pile of tarps for years. In the bottom was a folded photo of me and her outside our trailer. I was maybe 10, grinning, dirty face, holding a toy hammer. You don't bury roots like that. You just forget about them until you need the strength again. I folded the photo, stuck it in my pocket, let them laugh. I'm not done yet. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the garage with the lights on, just waiting for the sun to show up. Around 6, I got in my truck and drove west out to Baraboo. Leo Holtz lived in a busted-up ranch with a crooked mailbox and a rusted flagpole. I hadn't seen him in over 30 years, but I remembered the dog tags he always wore and the faded Marine Corps tattoo on his forearm. He was my dad's friend back in the day, one of the only people who didn't vanish after he left. Leo answered the door shirtless, holding a mug of coffee and a cigarette. His gray hair looked like it hadn't been washed in a week. "Well, damn," he said. "Terry Colson, you look like your old man, minus the bullshit." I didn't smile. "I need answers, Leo. About him. All of it." He stared at me for a second, then opened the door wider. "Get in here." His place smelled like tobacco and black coffee. Piles of papers on every surface. He pointed to a recliner that sagged in the middle and sat across from me on a stool. "You think your dad ran off on you?" he said. "That what your mom told you?" "She said he bailed. Never looked back." Leo nodded slowly. "He didn't bail. He disappeared. There's a difference." I leaned forward. "Explain." He stubbed out the cigarette and grabbed a folder from the top of a filing cabinet. "Your dad got tied up in things regular people weren't supposed to see. Defense contracting work and some off-the-books financial projects. We served together in Nam. Later, he did consulting. That's what they called it." "What kind of consulting?" Leo opened the folder. Inside was a photo of my dad in uniform, a different patch than I'd seen before. And under that, trust documents, foreign bank names, investment statements under aliases I didn't recognize. "I helped him set these up," Leo said. "He wanted his money hidden, but he couldn't stick around. Said it was safer this way." "Covered with what?" Leo gave a dry laugh. "Money, millions, tied up in offshore accounts, shell trusts, but all legal, at least back then." My jaw tightened. "He left us broke." "No," Leo said, leaning forward. "He left you hidden." He pulled out a small metal key with a bank tag still attached. "Safe deposit box. Milwaukee, you're the listed heir." I held the key like it was a grenade. My whole body felt wired. I didn't know if I wanted to scream or throw up. "He could have told us," I said. "He couldn't. People were watching. It was the Cold War, not a spy movie." Later that afternoon, I drove straight to the bank. The box was old, dusty, and packed with files. IDs, financial records, company registrations in the Caymans, Belize, Panama. I wasn't just some poor kid who married up. I came from money, real money, buried deep, forgotten, and now it was mine. I didn't call Dana. I didn't tell a soul. I went back to Leo's that evening and asked him who I could trust. He gave me a name, Sam Myers, retired IRS investigator, still did private work, smart, honest, ruthless when needed. "Tell him Leo sent you," he said, "and don't wait." So I didn't. I got in the truck, pulled out my phone, and made the call. The phone barely rang once before a gravel voice answered, straight to the point. "This is Sam Myers." "Sam, this is Terry Colson. Leo Holtz told me to call you." There was a pause. "If Leo sent you, it's not about taxes," he said. "You in trouble or sitting on something? I need to meet, in person. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., my office in Madison. Bring everything." He hung up. Sam's office was inside an old brick building across from a courthouse. No sign on the door. Just a buzz code and a frosted glass window. He looked exactly like what I expected. Bald, thick glasses, sleeves rolled, coffee-stained paperwork spread everywhere. "Let's see what you got," he said, waving me into the chair across from his desk. I handed him a manila folder packed with copies from the deposit box. He didn't say a word for 15 minutes. Just flipped pages, tapped on a calculator, and scribbled on a yellow legal pad. Then he leaned back and exhaled through his nose. "Well, Terry, your daddy wasn't just clever, he was loaded. These trusts, real, these companies, all legit. And you're the primary beneficiary on every one of them. I sat back. My heart thudded so loud it felt like it echoed in the walls. There's one problem, Sam said, sliding a few pages aside. You signed power of attorney to your wife 3 years ago. Full financial authority. Ring a bell? My mouth went dry. Yeah. She said it was just to help with the bills, pay off her student loans faster, combine accounts. Said it would make taxes easier. Then let's get to work. Over the next few weeks, I combed through every email, every bill, every little moment I could remember. Found old text messages from Dana, phrases like, "Don't worry, I already tossed that weird bank letter," and "You don't need to handle money stuff, babe. Just keep building things." I downloaded voicemail backups from years ago. One had her telling her friend Ashley, "He doesn't even know what half this stuff is. It's better if I manage it anyway." Sam built a file thicker than a phone book. We tracked where she forwarded my mail, found where she added herself as secondary trustee on accounts I didn't even know existed. She was slick, but not slick enough. Meanwhile, Dana's family kept up their crap. At a Christmas party, her mom said, "Maybe we should get Terry a gift card to AutoZone this year." And Chase, he actually introduced me to someone as our family's blue-collar mascot. I smiled through it, didn't bite, just nodded like an idiot while they laughed. They had no idea. I didn't say a word to Dana, not yet. Let her think I was still the guy who just smiled and paid the utility bill. But every night, I sat in that garage, lining up dates, cross-referencing emails, and building a timeline. Sam kept checking in, and every time I picked up, he had one more piece of the puzzle locked down. I wasn't powerless. I was armed. Sam gave me a name. Janet Rourke, he said. Sharp, mean as hell, and doesn't blink at rich people. Her office was in downtown Milwaukee, 15th floor, glass walls, high-rise view. I walked in wearing my usual jeans and boots. The receptionist gave me the once-over, but buzzed me through. Janet didn't bother with small talk. Mid-40s, black blazer, glasses, hair pulled tight. She stood when I walked in, shook my hand firm, and said, "Tell me everything." I laid it out. The trusts, the mail, the fake power of attorney, Dana's grip on the money I didn't know I had. When I was done, she tapped her pen against the desk. "You want divorce or you want fire?" "Both," I said. She nodded. "We'll start with freezing every joint account. I'll file a quiet motion with the court under asset preservation. That'll hold everything in place while we open the fraud case. And Dana? She won't see it coming. Yet. I hired a security firm Janet recommended. Ex-military guys with clean suits and colder eyes. They scanned my property, set up encrypted backups, made copies of every financial document I gave them. They even dug into Dana's digital trail, spending records, brokerage moves, fake companies she tied to my trusts. Weeks passed. I kept quiet, acted normal. Dana started getting twitchy. One night, she stormed into the garage holding her phone. "Have you heard from the bank?" she asked, frowning. "Our joint account's locked. I can't get into the investment portal either." I didn't look up from under the hood of my truck. "Nope, haven't seen anything." She paced. "My broker won't return my calls. Something's wrong." "I'm sure it's just a glitch," I said, straight-faced. "You're the one who usually handles that stuff, right?" She stared at me, waiting for something more. I gave her nothing. That weekend, she left 3 voicemails in a row. I didn't answer. Then it happened. Early Tuesday morning, a black Lincoln pulled into our driveway. Not flashy, clean, tinted, government-looking. Dana was still in her robe, coffee in hand, confused. 2 men stepped out. One held a clipboard. The other had a camera. "Mrs. Dana Colson," one of them said. She nodded, guarded. "You've been served." She didn't even take the envelope at first. Just stood there, stunned, blinking in the cold. I was inside, watching from the front window. I waited. A minute later, she slammed the front door open and stormed in. "What the hell is this?" she yelled, waving the packet at me. "Those are court filings," I said calmly, flipping through a stack of mail. "For what? Fraud? Are you out of your mind?" "No," I said, standing. "Just done being quiet. You think you can pull this on me after everything I've done for you?" I stepped past her toward the hallway. She followed, shouting, "You ungrateful! You wouldn't even have a life if it weren't for me." I stopped at the front door, grabbed my coat. "You'll need to talk to Janet," I said without turning. "She's handling everything now." "What? Who the hell is Janet?" I opened the door. "Your new pen pal," I said, and I walked out while she kept yelling behind me, voice rising, rage boiling. I didn't slam the door, didn't run, just walked straight to the truck and got in. Engine rumbled to life while she stood there on the porch, still trying to make sense of the shift. She thought she owned the game. Now she didn't even know what board we were playing on. I don't know if it was on purpose or someone screwed up, but the group text invite hit my phone like I was still part of the family. Dinner at our place, 6 p.m. sharp. Casual dress. Bring wine. Sent by Dana's sister, Lisa. I didn't reply, just stared at it for a second, then grinned. Sam and Janet had already signed off on the next steps. All the legal ducks were in a row. The files were prepped, notarized, delivered to my hand in sealed envelopes with names typed bold on the front. Dana, Chase, Gregory, her father. So, I got ready. No flannel, no worn jeans, no pickup. I drove a black rental sedan, clean and quiet. Wore a tailored charcoal suit I'd never touched since Dana picked it out for her cousin's wedding years back. Black shoes, white shirt, no tie. Shaved, cologne, clean cut, not flashy, just sharp. When I pulled up to the big 2-story in Brookfield, a few cars were already lining the driveway. I parked on the street, grabbed the envelopes, and walked in like I belonged there. Because I did. The second I stepped inside, the chatter quieted just a notch. Dana froze near the kitchen island. She wore pearls, cream blouse, wine glass already in hand. Chase spotted me next. I could see his smirk tighten the second his eyes hit the jacket. "Well, damn," he said, loud enough to cut through the music. "Didn't think you'd show your face again, man." I looked at him and smiled. "Good to see you too, Chase." He stepped closer, glass of bourbon swinging casually in his hand. "Didn't think this was your kind of crowd anymore, or your budget." I ignored him, turned to Gregory, who was sitting on the couch, TV on mute. His eyes narrowed, but he didn't speak. "I won't stay long," I said, loud enough for the room to hear. "Just came to clear up a few things." Dana took a step forward. "Terry, this isn't the time." "Actually," I said, "it's the exact time." I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the 3 envelopes. Heavy paper, sealed tight. I handed the first to Dana. "This one's yours." Second to Chase. "This is going to ruin your week." Third to Gregory. "And yours might ruin your decade." Dana looked at the envelope like it was ticking. "What is this?" she asked. "It's the truth," I said. "My father didn't disappear because he was a deadbeat. He was running black budget work under the Department of Defense. He didn't leave anything accessible. Everything was buried where only he could reach it. Trusts, offshore accounts, real estate, assets buried deep with my name on them." I turned, facing the whole room now. "And for the last few years, your daughter has been siphoning off funds she had no right to touch. She committed fraud, redirected trust notifications, lied to me about our financial control, and tied my assets to Chase's failing firm." Chase took a step back. "That's not... What the hell are you talking about?" "You'll find out," I said. "Janet works the name on the filings. She'll walk you through it." Dana's hand shook as she opened the envelope. Her eyes darted across the page. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. I kept going. "Everything you all laughed at me over, the house, the cars, the accounts, it was never yours. It was mine. You married into something you didn't even understand." Gregory stood slowly. "Now hold on, son. I'm not your son," I said, sharp and flat. Nobody else said a word. Lisa's husband coughed and looked away. Dana's mother clutched her wine glass like it was a weapon. I looked at Dana one last time. "You knew, and you kept lying." I turned and walked toward the front door. No one stopped me. No one dared. Halfway down the driveway, I heard Chase call out, "Terry, you think this is gonna stick? You really think people like you win?" I didn't stop walking. Didn't answer. The silence behind me was louder than anything he could have said. I didn't drive home that night. I got in the rental, took Highway 29 north until the roads went empty, then cut west onto a narrow gravel path that barely passed for a driveway. At the end of it sat a small A-frame cabin, half buried in pine trees, with a faded tin roof and one broken window shutter flapping in the breeze. Leo was the one who told me about it. My father's name on the deed, buried under a land trust. Place had been sitting untouched since the mid-90s. No mortgage, no power bill, no neighbors for miles. Perfect. I moved in with 2 duffel bags, a cooler, and the bare minimum. Slept on a cot the first 2 weeks while I patched up the plumbing and replaced the fuse box. Hauled in firewood, wired in solar, fixed up the dock, and started fishing the lake out back before sunrise. By the end of the second month, my hands were raw again. Good raw, not from gripping a steering wheel or scrolling a phone, but from splitting wood and hauling water. I didn't talk to anybody, didn't want to. The phone rang sometimes. Dana. Her number popped up at least twice a week at first, then once a week, then once a month. I never picked up, never blocked her either. I wanted her to see the silence. After a while, even she gave up. Winter hit hard that year, the kind that cracks your windows and ices your coffee if you leave it out too long. I stayed warm with fire and grit, cut ties with every last one of them. No more lawyers, no more meetings. I let the court stuff run its course. Janet sent updates. I barely read them. Then, almost a year to the day after I left, an envelope showed up from a bank in Zurich. Inside was notification that one of the older trusts had been liquidated, with instructions for claiming the distribution. I held it for a long time. No rush, no shock, just peace. I didn't buy a yacht, didn't book a vacation. I took the check, drove down to the local bank in town, and opened a simple checking account. The teller smiled politely. She didn't know who I was. In that town, they called me the quiet guy with a past. I liked it. I kept to myself. Shopped once a week, waved at folks from my truck, didn't offer much, didn't owe anyone anything. I spent most days on the water, rod in hand, nothing but the wind and the sound of the lake. At night, I'd sit on the porch with black coffee and watch the sun drop behind the trees. Nobody told me what to do. Nobody told me who to be. For the first time in my life, I wasn't someone's project. I wasn't a joke at a dinner table or a pity story wrapped in flannel. I was just me, and that was more than enough. The knock came just after noon. I looked out the window and saw her, Dana, standing at the edge of the porch in heels, her hair pinned back, sunglasses covering half her face. She had a leather bag slung over one shoulder, and it looked like she'd practiced this moment in the mirror 10 times. I opened the door, but didn't say a word. "Terry," she said, forcing a small smile. "Can we talk?" I stepped aside. She took it as a yes and walked in, heels clicking across the wood floor like they didn't belong here, because they didn't. "This place is quiet," she said, scanning the room like she was cataloging what I didn't own. "You've really dropped off the map." I crossed my arms and waited. "I've been thinking a lot," she said, "about everything, about us. We made mistakes, both of us." I kept my eyes on her. "You lied, you used me, and you made sure everyone knew you thought I was beneath you." She flinched at that but didn't argue. "I didn't understand the extent of the accounts," she said quietly. "I thought they were normal investments." I walked over to the coffee pot and filled it with water. "They're restructuring the accounts now," I said, "and you're under investigation, so I wouldn't worry too much about organizing anything." Her voice cracked. "I'm struggling, Terry, really struggling. Everything's frozen. Chase won't return my calls. My dad's blaming me for the mess." I poured grounds into the filter. "I never wanted to hurt you," she said, stepping closer. "You're not the kind of man who leaves someone with nothing. That's not who you are." I looked her dead in the eye. "You did that to me once," I said. "I figure it's fair now." She stood there, stunned. No fake smile, no comeback, just silence. I walked past her and opened the front door. She hesitated, waiting for something. Maybe for me to change my mind. I didn't. She stepped outside, heels crunching on gravel, didn't look back. I shut the door behind her, locked it. From the window, I watched her walk down the long dirt road, shrinking with each step until the trees swallowed her. I turned on the coffee pot, leaned back in my chair, and let the quiet settle again. That was it. No yelling, no begging, no need for a final speech. For the first time in my life, I had nothing to prove and no one to answer to. Would you have let Dana back in or shut the door like Terry did? Drop your answer in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.